I'm going to explore some of the ways that the evidence from the film industry is mirrored in real world semiotics and exposes their game. This I call the telltale clip. It was found in a Japanese film uncovered in a box in Chinatown. Notice the two girls come running up. One of them is holding a ball and one of them isn't. It signifies the hymen. And the man follows her as she jumps off with her spread legs. And the conniver connubiates with the distinguished race, who happily agrees to the plan. Fast forwards a little as it goes past the symbol of the Civil War, which is what the canon is. Notice that it's also hollow. It signifies the script's obsession with virginity. If you play it back, you'll see that the man closes the book after launching an attack prostitute using a little girl. And the persona, having been subjected to successive degradations of the X motive, is now subsumed into a larger structure dominated by the adversary as the successive degradations of the X motive come up behind little boy who's been flattened and his glasses are crooked and broken to subject him to an escapade of mockery. After which the conniver rides off in victory and glee. What they did was Seattle sent in contract prostitute for the special agents of the Panthers for Seattle's Dixon show. You will notice that Aaron Dixon has never been concerned that his name was used this way. After the greening of Germany, the Green Party of Germany appears with don't know who in my father's obituary and something about injecting people. This is an example of the way that the telltale clip was set up in Hybridania. You see, Obama was working with Midori Goto, and Leslie Katz and Didi Mancini had pulled their two virgins escapade. Didi had been, as Greg Carl put it, the initial encounter of the X motive is tainted by the shadow of the adversary. She didn't have her hymen, but Leslie withheld her hymen. So they were playing a game of carrot and the stick with carrot dangling the carrot of the hymen in front of the little boy's nose. And hollow is as in Holocaust. And all of the semiotics, bar none, fulfilled the mission of the script to sell Two Virgins Pussy Ball as the justification for the AIDS attack. What it did is it privileged the black man because it made the claim that the black man had been infringed upon by the white who entered into the entrapment scenario offered up by the museum's thieves, Schulman, and the arch professors of Ustinov, who controlled the Foreign Legion at the University of Pittsburgh. in a seduction known as the alpinist scam. If she didn't tell me she was married, so there was a Louis adultery. So India could pounce on the symbol of the United States' sovereignty. And they worked this out with Oliver Stone and Boris Putin. Putin, what did you put it in for? You see, it's all this leering, lurid, but you see, it announces chivalric codes. So Dixon is like the old South was called the Dixon, south of the Mason Dixon. And the white was divinely punished. So we know what the symbols of this hybrid zany are. That's an example I wanted to get on record. It's a hybrid system from the second element of the casework. The second element of the casework, which is two virgins, pussy ball, clock to the AIDS attack. Recall that the first is the escape of Adolf Hitler. The second is two virgins, pussy ball, clock to the AIDS attack. The third is the murder of JFK as divine punishment for Hiroshima. And fourth is Lenin's Houdini. Behind this operation was pulled as the dagger and cloak of Ono licky chops mongered the script that they had planted on me as a child with the help of people like Lucas Studios. They licky chops mongered. They set up, it was a quid pro quo. You got the black man, Louis the Foreign Legion. We take the script. We take control. We take control of the United States of America. This is a shell game, licky chop, while they was looting the museums for the strongman Trump and, of course, McCartney. So that's why they called this guy who wrote this thing Don't Know Who. Dawn Ono Who. H-U-E is a shade of color. It's in green. Don't know who. It's a mystery who done it. So, and they clocked it with the help of Midori Goto of the United Nations. It's important to remember. It's really very important to remember that this mythical girl, Greta Thunberg, got her start with Arnold Schwarzenegger. The early tapes, there's some of the earliest tapes of her with Arnold Schwarzenegger, as he played up the virtues of Ronald Reagan. Hitler Reagan can be seen in this film made with the people who created the Burning Cross for the KKK. See, there's a bust of Hitler with the U.S. over the swastika, and it says "Rather Us," like "Rather Us" back from the dead. And there's Hitler with Reagan with Errol Flynn, who met with Hitler while this was being made, and lived in Laurel Canyon with Houdini. So what they did was they said, we'll have a special program where we see eye to eye with the black man, fascist operation called Two Virgins Pussy Ball about power. And they clocked it to the AIDS attack. People say, oh, well, I humiliated myself getting the truth. The truth is the truth. I was trying to get evidence that these people had organized this thing as a crime. It would be just like starting over. And she looks like Gail Burstyn. All of these important, very important archives are proof of Hitler-Reagan semiotics. They had a confederacy that was inclusive of the black fascist mafia. And Reagan was working with, and Yoko Ono was protecting not only museum thieves in Pittsburgh and the people who did this, but Flame Over Africa. Every single pervert and Christian in Pittsburgh who denies I was tortured is doing it on behalf of a gang that was putting out Flame Over Africa and doing covers for Yoko Ono. That's a fact. They lied about what they did to me. They used a nerve agent on me. What a mockery of American justice to use a nerve agent on a child. They sent in the Neva Corporation, a gigantic pornography ring, to kidnap school children in a Pittsburgh elementary school. Batter me so brutally I ended up in late life with Parkinson's. Tortured me. Scarred my face, poured acid on my face as a metaphor of the Hiroshima maiden. And these spinner beanies in Seattle are threatening their own children with a nuclear reprisal. Their own children. Because of the ego problems of people like Cornel West in the matter. They want to justify it because Midori Goto, the UN peace ambassador, was the symbol of life. It's deranged, but it comes from people like Schwarzenegger. It really does, because his name is like Schwarzenegger. I didn't make that up. I didn't intone that deliberately to insult anybody, but it underscores the political correctness. You insulted the black man. You insulted the black man. I took to calling that pair Obama nigger because they work together in this plot of the arc. And that's what Kamala Harris symbolizes. She symbolizes the quid pro quo of the unity, the new unity. Will dust out some grannies to make way for the Black Lives Matter. Notice how they dog whistle for Black Lives Matter by killing somebody named Geo Floyd. Geo is like the world, and Floyd, it's like Pink Floyd. This is Roger Waters, Crudden. He was working with Cyril Wecht when I was a child, setting me up. Waters and Bush, the girl who worked with Carbon Hell for the Neva Corporation, was named Swimmer. Bush evidently blamed my father in the radio room for the lawsuits playing at sea, and they pulled him out of the drink. He was a swimmer. It's like Waters, Roger Waters. They index this whole thing. They're phantasmagorical lappers. Brecker is a Breckerwood. That's what they are. And it's structured exactly as Greg Carl's script implies. The initial encounter of the X motive is tainted by the shadow of the adversary. Dee Dee had, in whose name they killed Martin Luther King, had lost her virginity to Nikki DeBarno, who's working the script with levers for Hitler Oliver Stone. Ever notice that scene in El Salvador where the Jimmy Curry kid is told to take off his glasses and then the Oliver Stone guy shoots him in the face? That was time to my attempts to get help when Reagan was launching into El Salvador. Oliver Stone was just making blood and glory of it. He wasn't protesting anything. He was playing the game of conjuring the demon of madness that make people gloat, because the I-thou relationship has become a pervert fascination of Holocaust survivors. We should have been very careful of the Holocaust survivors intellectually and psychologically. For their own good, we should have been careful, because this is an outcome of a whole generation that squandered the post-war dream. And it doesn't make any difference if Roger Waters makes music about it. He's the perpetrator. It's true that we need ecology classes, but where's Joe Biden on the eco schools? He's not teacher training for ecology. He's promoting loopholes for the oil barons. It's getting disturbing.